Hello, my brothers and sisters in music. This is Tommy Z, and in this video, I'm going to teach you the fundamental habit that has helped me to turn from a dabbling amateur into a dedicated pro. Now, why is this video important? Folks, I deal with a lot of musicians in my day-to-day work as a music producer and also as a mentor in our academy, and I see that what holds many of you back from making progress in your music career is not EQing the hi-hat, it's not the right guitar chords, it's not this mixing tip, or it's not that mastering hack. It is fundamental habits and mindsets that are stalling you, that are keeping you stuck. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. How to get you unstuck with this habit. And I promise you, if you take this video to heart, if you take this teaching to heart and you actually apply it in your daily practice, I want you to report to me 6 months from now, and I dare you to tell me that nothing has changed in your musical journey. So we're going to title this lesson, First the Hard Things, Then the Honey. And this video is inspired by my recent interaction with my son. He had a day off from school, and the first thing he did in the morning is he laid out his toys and he was getting ready to play. And I said to him, son, do you have any homework for today? And he said, yeah, I got homework, but I'm going to do it later. I got all day to do it. And I said, son, I want you to remix your day. I want you to learn how to do the difficult things first so that you can then, after finishing the hard things, enjoy the honey, guilt-free, knowing that the most difficult is behind you and you've already accomplished something that will help you move forward, instead of diving into the honey first and being 90% there as far as enjoying it, but having 10% of your mental RAM somewhere in the back of your mind devoted to the thought that, hey, after all this play is over, I still have to go back and do the difficult thing. So my son, when I suggested it, of course, he rolled his eyes. Of course, he started resisting in all sorts of ways, laying on the floor, sideways, upside down. But finally, after a few minutes of basically wiping the floor with himself, my son got down to his homework. He sat at his desk. He started doing it. And I noticed an incredible thing. From these minutes of friction and resistance, suddenly, when he launched himself into the difficult task, I saw him finding the focus. And then the focus turned into a flow. And then a few minutes into his homework, I could almost see him enjoying this thing. He was actually enjoying this task for the sake of doing this task well. Half an hour later, he came to me all excited, all happy, and he said, I'm all done. I checked the homework, everything was good. But before he ran off to play, I said, Julian, I want you to stop. Stand right here. Look into my eyes. He was like, what? What weird thing are we doing now? I asked him, how are you feeling? Oh, I'm feeling amazing. I said, I want you to pay attention to the way you're feeling right now. And I want you to recognize that this feeling good is a whole different level of feeling good by playing first and doing the difficult things later. Not only do we get done everything that we need to get done, first things first, but we also enjoy the play more because we can totally give ourselves to the play without worrying about things we still have to do. So how does this relate to our journey as musicians and turning ourselves from dabbling amateurs into pros? Now, why do we make music, folks? We make music because it feels good. Unfortunately, feeling good is not always going to mean that we're moving our music career forward. And that is the essential difference between the mindset of an amateur or a hobbyist and the mindset of a dedicated pro. The hobbyist is fueled by feelings. When it feels good, we do it. When it's fun, we do it. When we sense any kind of friction, any kind of difficulty, any kind of obstacle, we set it aside. It's no longer pleasurable, it's no longer fun. The hobbyist, the amateur, tends to avoid discomfort. At first signs of discomfort, they abandon the activity. They have no expectations of themselves or of the musical journey other than to have fun. Therefore, when it stops being fun, they stop doing it. The pro, on the other hand, is not driven by feelings. They're committed by their call to be a full-time musician. They understand that the journey toward being a full-time musician is not going to be easy. They actually expect that there will be difficulty, there will be obstacles, there will be friction, and there will be a whole lot of things they will have to do that are not necessarily fun, but are necessary to get them closer to their dream of being a full-time musician. Now, the amateur spends all of their time wishing and dreaming, and some of these folks even email me saying, I dream of nothing more than to make music as a full-time career. But the difference between the amateur and the pro is that the amateur is not ready to make that decision and commitment to actually traveling toward the destination and encountering trials and tribulations on their way. You see, it's easy to say that you want something, that you desire, that you dream about something, but it's a whole different thing to commit to actually doing the difficult and experiencing on your skin the discomfort, the silence, the rejection, the friction. Somebody who is serious about making a living from music expects these things to happen, and they learn how to deal with the difficult by doing the difficult. Now you might say, well, it really sounds like the pro journey is quite difficult and cumbersome and painful, whereas the hobbyist gets to have fun and all this pleasure from making music. But the difference is, when you look deeper, at the end of the day, the hobbyist might have some regrets about the fact that they felt called deep down inside of themselves to make something more out of their music talent than just being a hobbyist, than just creating a bunch of loops, instead of actually finishing them into compositions, instead of actually sharing them with the world, instead of actually committing to making a living, making music, and spending most of our life doing the thing we feel we are called to do. The hobbyist will not have that privilege. The hobbyist will have to spend most of their life working a day job that they probably don't have particular skill for or particular passion for, only to leave what they love most until the very last. The hobbyist will likely experience less growth in their skill as a musical craftsperson. Why? Because doing the difficult in music requires having some discomfort, facing some pain, being awkward with the things that we're not good at yet, and persevering through that pain in order to get better and better. The pro, by definition, because they expect obstacles and because they understand that in order to be a world-class musician, they have to endure pain, they're gonna get better because they will have daily practice of facing the pain, getting through it, so they can face bigger pains that will allow them to keep graduating in this video game called your music career. And at the end of the day, at the end of your life, who's going to have a better story to tell their grandkids? Will it be the hobbyist who knew deep down that they always wanted to be more than a hobbyist? Or will it be the serious musician who committed to the journey of being a full-time musician, faced the pain, faced the obstacles, had great adventures, and had great stories to tell their grandkids at the end of their life? Which one do you want to be? The choice is up to you, my friends, because you are the author of your creative journey. You are the author of your career. You are the author of your life. So now that we got all poetic and we understand why it's better to do the harder thing first and then enjoy the honey, let me talk you through some practical tips of how you can actually implement this in your life. First things first, doing the difficult thing is a mental game. So before you even get down to doing the difficult thing, I want you to start by picturing yourself doing the difficult thing. Whenever you have a moment of silence, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to picture yourself actually getting up in the morning and doing the difficult thing first. I want you to see yourself encountering difficulties, encountering challenges, and I want you to see yourself not getting flustered. I want you to see yourself breathing through your tension. I want you to see yourself facing the friction and just going right through it and dealing with it and reaching a state of focus and eventually reaching a state of flow and actually having fun with the friction, having fun with the problem. And then I want you to picture yourself being satisfied by doing the difficult thing first and allowing yourself to get carried away with the rest of your tasks, or just enjoying the rest of your day because you know you already did your march. You already did the difficult thing. The next thing is, in order for this to work, you have to habituate it. It's not going to work if you only do the difficult thing once in a while. I want you to habituate this into a daily practice. Now, this doesn't have to be extreme. It doesn't have to get crazy. In fact, to maximize our chances of making this happen, I want you to take small daily steps. Before you open your email inbox, before you go around rushing, solving other people's problems, I want you to start with yourself. Reserve 30 minutes every morning for yourself and identify the thing that you might find uncomfortable, that you might find difficult, but you know without a doubt, It's going to improve you as a musical craftsperson, and it's going to give you traction in your music career. I want you to literally put this 30-minute block in your calendar, and I want you to commit to it on a daily basis. You might think 30 minutes a day? Well, that's nothing. Well, how many minutes are you doing right now solving the difficult? Right now, the way you operate is that you do what needs to be done, you meet the obligations of your day job, you do everything that has to be done at home, then maybe you do things that feel good to you because you deserve it after a long, hard day. And then what about your dream? What about the things that are important but not necessarily urgent? You leave them until last. But when you leave things like this until last, they are competing with Netflix, with HBO, with TikTok, with YouTube, all the things that are very hard to resist when at the end of the day you're tired and uninspired. So this is why I'm saying devote your best energy first thing in the morning to doing the thing that may not be necessarily urgent, but it is important for moving your career forward. For those of you who actually have great musical skills and are ready to produce music on a world-class stage, the problem isn't with your music production. The problem is you're not developing your network. You're not reaching out to the business. You're not making the connections that will turn into relationships, that will turn into projects. And why are you not doing this? Because it feels uncomfortable. For many musicians, contacting other people in the business feels uncomfortable. This is exactly what I'm talking about. First, do the hard things, then you enjoy the honey. There's no way you can build a career as a composer or a songwriter for moving media unless you have a network, unless you have clients, unless you have collaborators. And you're never going to have those unless you actually reach out to them. Now, the reason why most people avoid this is because they associate it with selling, but it's nothing of the sort. You need to change the way you see contacting other people. Stop expecting that you're actually going to get a gig, get a project by contacting someone at first. Your only objective is to turn a stranger into a kindred spirit. Your only job at the first stage of contact is to make a friend. The only criteria of success is, will that person want to hear from you again? So therefore, you do not have to put pressure on yourself to sell on the first contact. This is why many of you avoid reaching out to others. But if you reframe it in your mind and you see it as making friends, almost as if you were asking someone out for a coffee, then it can become a little more fun. Remember, folks, it's not about projects. It's about people. If you develop a relationship one step at a time by treating people the way you like to be treated, the projects will come by themselves. So take all the pressure off by focusing on the person and not on a potential project. Now remember, I said it only takes 30 minutes a day in order to move your career forward and actually see results, see transformation. If you schedule 30 minutes every morning and you commit to contacting 3 people a day, 3 people in the industry that you've always wanted to get to know, that you've always wanted to work for or with, 3 people a day will turn into 15 people a week, will turn into 60 people a month, will turn into 720 people a year. And you might have heard me say this before, but I'm going to keep repeating it because this is just a simple example of how a daily task that doesn't have to be huge, but you do it consistently every single day, will eventually gain momentum and give you transformation and movement that might even surprise you. Okay, so now that you know how you can apply this in your life, how you can do the hard things first and then enjoy the honey, let me leave you with a couple of tools and resources that are going to help you make this happen. Number 1, I want you to keep a journal. In this journal, you're going to write down your affirmation. You're not only going to visualize this in your mind, but you're actually going to write this down in your journal saying, I am the kind of person that does the difficult things first. I do them patiently, I persist through them, I expect them to happen because making a living as a musician is not an easy thing. I don't expect it to be easy, and therefore, I don't want it to get easier. I want myself to get better. In the same journal, you can also congratulate yourself at the end of the day and say, hey, before the day even started, before everyone started putting their demands on me, I took care of myself. I took care of my dream. I did the most important things that weren't necessarily comfortable, but I did them. They're behind me and they will make a difference as long as I keep repeating this every day. The next tool I want you to use is a calendar. I want you to open up the Google Calendar or whatever calendar you use, and I want you to put a 30-minute block at the beginning of your day before everybody else wakes up to do the very difficult thing. I promise you that this will not only make a difference in your career in the long term, but in the short term. Every single day you're going to feel better because you're going to know that you're the kind of person who's handling your musical journey different from your peers who keep following pleasure as a guiding principle. But you're going to be different. You're going to stand out because you're going to do the difficult thing first. And the way to ensure that it happens is to put it in your calendar, just like you put your other meetings about things that you might not even care about. I want you to put 2 books on your list. Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy, as well as The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, which is a timeless classic, and I believe this book should be in every single studio. And lastly, I want you to subscribe to this channel. This is not where we're going to teach you how to EQ a hi-hat, but this is definitely where we're going to teach you the foundational habits to help you move your music career forward. If you have any questions about this training, please put them in the comments below. Consider subscribing, consider liking this video, or sharing it with any musician who wants to make a full-time living with music. And last but not least, if any of you are interested in making music for brands as a career, join our free training. The link is below. It'll give you a solid introduction to our business and let you know what you need to do to break in. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm Tommy Z, and I'll see you in the next one.